Okay, let's have a little look. Just check if we're live, Dave. Do our weekly check.
It's gonna. We are.
I know we're gonna get this right one week.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
But the thing is, it wouldn't be a Tuesday tune-in without like the first 10 seconds being.
No. I'll be honest. Like it even though we always start a little bit like, are we live, aren't we? I think people are missing out on the mad rush before the live even starts.
You know? I know it's been a busy morning, but yeah. Anyway, we're going to hey everyone, Andy and Dave here on another Tuesday tune-in, weekly Q&A. Yeah, apologies, we're a few minutes late today. We had a few tech issues that we just managed to sort out. But if you've joined us, do say hello. Miko, Dave, Debbie, Paula, Heather, Patrick, go through the. Alexandra Treen is on here. Hello, Alexandra. We've seen you recently. Yeah, Sinead, James, Paula, Jackie. Wow, there's a lot of people on today. Great stuff. Fantastic.
Awesome.
All of you must love your feet. That's all I must say, because obviously we put a little post out about what we're going to do today, and a lot of it was around feet. We were sort of thinking during the week, what are we going to do it on, Dave, wasn't it? And we were thinking, let's talk about feet.
Yeah, exactly. Namaste, Balkuma, one of our epic guides.
Oh, namaste, Bal, how's it going?
One of the best guides in the business. If you book on one of our 3 Peaks trips, almost certainly it'll be Bal that takes you up there. But back to feet. Yeah, so yeah, it was well, we were thinking about it, and I was thinking about how I was watching the MotoGP on the weekend.
Yeah.
And a couple of things came together. So there was an epic crash there, and it got me thinking about just how vital that contact patch is between the rubber and the earth. And it's the same for hikers, as anyone that's seen my slip video will know. But also, Andy, you've been going through your own sort of foot drama to do with, what is it, plantar
fasciitis. Yeah, it's one of those things that I've been struggling for about 6 months now, but it is what it is. You crack on, but it's something that yeah, I've noticed over the last few long hikes I've done has become quite more prominent. So you're always looking at ways, and naturally while doing that, because it's not something I've had before, you're doing the research, and you're speaking to people who've had it and what treatments they've had, and we just wanted to share a few things really, because your feet are the most important thing when you're on a high altitude trek. And before we go into it, I know we always start off obviously talking about it. Any questions, do post in the comments, okay?
Yeah.
Just because we'll start off for about 5-10 minutes talking, and then we'll answer some of your questions. So yeah, you're only as strong as your weakest point, if you like, which are naturally your ankles or your feet.
Yeah.
If you've got a blister, if you've got pain in your feet, you're going to be doing like 20, 30, maybe even 40,000 steps a day on a long trek. So you want to make sure that your feet are comfy. That starts with the right footwear. Dave, I know we've both used this probably footwear we wouldn't have used in hindsight. I'm thinking back to Glencoe Challenge last year. You wore new mountain boots.
Yeah.
On a full 26-mile.
Well, yeah, being the highly experienced hiker that I am, years and years in the mountains doing all sorts of stuff, you couldn't have more experience. So I decided, based on that experience, it would be a good idea to buy a brand spanking new pair of stiff B2 La Sportiva mountain boots and wear them on the very first time for a 26-mile hike around the Cairngorms. And
Glencoe.
And I was obliterated by the end of it. Like, I mean, my legs fine, everything fine, but when you think that there's a contact patch about this big, that's got to support all my weight, all my grip, all the loose terrain, everything like that. 26 miles, every single one of those miles sent through my feet. I was broken. I was a broken man. And it taught me something about complacency. Twice in my life, I've been taught about complacency in the mountains. It's both been in Scotland. Once was with those boots, and second was with water on a hot day. But that's for another one. We'll do that.
That's for another. I know. Yeah, we do go off on our tangents. But no, I know what you mean, Dave. Yeah, you've got to have the right boots. But yeah, so with regards to looking after your feet, I mean, most of the time, you've got boots, they're worn in. It's the old cliche. You've got to have your boots worn in, your trekking shoes worn in. But also as well, it's also about limiting the movement in your boots. And sometimes that can come down to having the right size having the right insole. I mean, you know, it goes without saying, and you've probably heard us say loads of times that, and it's been difficult during lockdown, obviously, because you can't go out and try on boots. You've had to order them online, but you should get out there and try them on really before you buy. You know, I've bought boots online and they've luckily worked out, but I kind of know my size. I'm a size 9, always works on any boot. Never really had any that's been an issue. So I've been quite lucky there. But then I've bought some, and they may be a bit narrow. I know on some boots, I think it was some Solomon's. They can be quite narrow. So and I think over time, for some reason, you know, especially flat feet, I don't know. I spent years wearing flip flops, probably didn't help. You know, on a beach. But yeah, that's probably hasn't helped. So naturally, if it got narrow boots, it would cause me a bit of pain. So I was like, okay, maybe they're not the right ones for me. But the insoles, Dave, I know that's important. That's super important, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the three things that three I think key factors. One that I've actually one you've touched on already is sizing. Yeah. Now, I used to have a story where, I used to believe that, you know, because I was taught as a kid that when you bought boots, you go a size bigger because you wear thick socks. And I've stuck with that through most of my life. And then I realized that a lot of the boots I bought were too big, weirdly, by about a size. So now I'm a 10.5. I start there. Start with the size that works for you. So I'll try them on with a light to midweight hiking sock, which is what I normally wear. I highly recommend merino wool. That's the part that sits against your skin, is vitally important. The boots have to be the right size. And then the insole as well. So almost every single pair of boots that I buy, I'll also buy an insole that works with them, because I found an insole that fits perfectly. I actually use the Superfeet Trailblazer.
Yeah, they're very good.
Yeah, sorry, excuse me. And I have to trim it a little bit. So I had to get that sniff out for ages. And I'm just going to do it. But one thing I do want to talk about as well when it comes to looking at it is lacing. Yeah, because I do tie my laces now slightly different, and it actually provides a lot of support. So I was suffering mainly with my toes constantly hitting the edge of the shoe, particularly going downhill. Yeah, I tried changing my size back down to what I actually am. That made a difference. I put the insoles in. That made a difference. And now I tie my boots slightly differently. And those three things combined have now mean I'm like a mountain goat on those paths now. I tell you, like, I mean, Andy will know I'm not the fastest going downhill, but you know, maybe I might be 20 minutes behind instead of an hour. So and I won't be limping.
No, that's okay, isn't it? You get there, and that's some of the that's quite important thing, isn't it? Ultimately, it's not a race there.
Yeah.
You know, take your time. I think sometimes you can nail it and just your feet are just destroyed. But yeah, you said lacing there, Dave. I know there's loads of different sort of lacing things you can do depending on the boots you've got, but it's all about getting it locked in, that locked in feel. I know the Maindel Boutons we talk about a lot, and especially with I know it depends. They've got like 2 crimps, if you like, that you can tie around, and that seems to, and you can sort of thread it different ways. I think we'll have to do some sort of lacing.
Well, I might be able to, because it just occurred to me that there's a pair of boots over there.
Demonstration. Go on, then.
2 seconds. 2 seconds.
Is this the mountain boots, Dave?
Yeah, these are the brand new mountain boots. I've not worn them yet, but I bought them because I was planning on doing like Island Peak or something. So these are the Scarpa Manta Pros.
Manta Pros.
Rear welt for crampon use. A real boot, you won't be able to bend them, but I'm hoping now I might be able to sort of demonstrate how I lace my boots.
Like the pressure's on now.
Yeah, I don't know if I. There we go. So I'll just undo this. So here we go.
Okay, we're waiting for this now. I'm looking forward to this, Dave.
Yeah. So do you know, like, I think we should plan these things a little bit more.
What we usually do is been a mad one.
So hopefully you can kind of see all that there. So what I'll do is I'll put it over, and then rather than just going over once, I'll go under twice.
I'm going to hide your name a second, Dave.
More of a grip.
Yeah.
So that pulls tight there.
Yeah.
Then I'll cross over, but go up to the top.
Yeah, I like that.
And then I'll cross over.
Yeah.
And go down to the middle one.
I like it. Yeah. Okay.
And the middle one now. that's where I'll then do a proper lace. So under again, pull tight, and you see how that's drawn it all in.
Nice.
And then you tie a knot like so. So the knot actually ends up more here than at the top.
Yeah, yeah, very good.
But as you can see, like that lace is still really tight there. So that's what gives you a really good locked in feel. So hopefully that's okay. Like I said, we go over 3 times, we cross over up to the top, cross over back to the middle. Yeah, so hopefully that's sort of that made sense.
Very good, Dave. Very good. I like that.
And that's how I always tie my boots now, because it'll lock your ankle in there while still giving you ankle support here. When it's too tight up here, this bit can tend to be a bit flexy if you haven't got the knot, and your feet can slide over. So yeah, hopefully that'll work out for you guys.
Very good. Now, Dave, you've got to wear them because they're just sitting decorating the office at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say they're actually just like an office decoration at the minute. So, but yeah, they will be worn. They will be on Island Peak and Merritt Peak next year. I guarantee it.
No, great. Thanks for showing us that. Yeah, that was very good, David. I knew this always happens. If it's about boots, you light up like a Christmas tree, mate. Brilliant.
I can't help. Do you know what? It's because if you've invested as much as I have financially in boots, financially and skin and blisters, but like I said, I've ended up using the Maindel Boutans. So have you. So have a lot of the other EverTrekkers. They're not going to work for everybody, but I do know that out of all the boots that I've recommended and all the boots that I've had recommendations for, that's the one that keeps coming up over and over again. So yeah, I think although Julie's happy with my boot lacing. Thank you.
Yeah, she loved it. Yeah, well done, Dave. I like that.
It is a bit like the generation game, Mark is saying. Yeah. So actually I've got the EverTrek water bottle.
Where's the cuddly toy, Dave? I need a cuddly. There's no Oh, we got Betty the Yeti behind you.
Oh yeah, Betty. Yeah, I was actually going to use Lauren then, but I've got Betty the Yeti.
Right. Right. We've got quite a few questions that have come in, so we may as well sort of take a couple of these on. Let's have a look. A couple of people having issues with their ankles. Paula and Leah, I know you've had some issues with it, but let's have a little look. Catherine only mentioned about insoles are better than taping. Yeah, absolutely. I know with plantar fasciitis, there are certain ways that you can tape your feet to minimize that because of your, I think plantar fasciitis, just from the research I've done, is that it's on you. And I'm not an expert here. This is just how I've read. There's pressure here at the base. Here we go. This is a hand, obviously, but at the base of your heel, and there's a tendon there where it gets inflamed. And apparently it's all connected to like your glutes, your hamstrings, your calves. So it works all the way down your leg.
Yeah.
But one thing I've learned is, or I've heard, is that if you strengthen your glutes, work on your hamstrings and your calves, it will actually have an effect on your feet as well. So something to think of when you're doing your training. Obviously, if you're out there, doing a lot of walking in preparation for a high altitude trip, and you're doing some gym work as well, is that if you're doing that, maybe do some targeted exercise on those muscles, and in turn that will help your plantar fasciitis. Good massage is always good. I saw someone mention a good massage afterwards. If you know someone that's really good, get onto it to get a nice little deep massage. It probably hurts because I've had it and it does kill, but it will help.
Yeah.
Any questions you can see there, Dave?
I saw two that I want to touch on. One is someone said, I think blister pads was a question that's come up a couple of times. So I know Lewis has asked it. A few other people have used it. So obviously the most popular one is the Compeed patches. Now I haven't got a huge amount of experience in it because I don't get a lot of blisters because I put a lot of effort. Like I said, it needs to start in. If you get in blisters after you've worn in a pair of boots, that means they're either worn out or they didn't fit right in the beginning. So spend a lot of energy and time and frustration getting that right. However, if you get a blister, it can happen. I think that Compeed is okay. I prefer to use tape.
Yeah.
So when I was on Kilimanjaro, I did have a little issue on my heel, so I used zinc oxide tape, and that you got to put it on as soon as you start to notice the blister. So even if you've got to stop and take some out of your pack and wrap it, and that usually tends to make a big difference, I think. Wow, these questions are flying in. So I did see one, but then I sort of. I know. Well, then I missed one, but
I want to take a look from where Alex has answered. Asked a question. A particular boot with a wider toe box. Yeah, there's a couple. You know, I've one I've really liked kind of over the last sort of 18 months, 2 years, is a company called Hoka. Hoka One, although it's spelled Hoka 1-1. It took us about 12 months to realize how to actually say that. But yeah, Hoka are really, I wouldn't say they're the most secure of boots, but they're certainly one of the most comfiest I've seen. I think it was your dad, Dave, that first introduced me to Hoka. I think one of his like moon boots like this.
Yeah, I used I used a pair of Hokas on EBC. They are brilliant if you like really good cushioning.
Yeah.
My only problem with them, I found them, I think because of I'm a bit my weight, I think I need to have something that like really supports my foot to stop it moving. So I couldn't find the right size. The small was, 10.5 was too small, 11 was too big. So I moved away from them. But one thing I will say is they were like underfoot, the most supremely comfortable. If you had a rock like this, but that's from Kilimanjaro, by the way. If you stand on it, the whole sole, because it's so cushioned, will absorb the rock and kind of like push you off it. So actually, you don't get sore feet after a while that you might do with a really hard or really unsupported sole. So that's really good.
I love it from Leah. Don't have a lazy ass. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, don't neglect the glutes if you're doing any training. I love that, Leah.
Yeah.
Make sure you do the arse exercises. Definitely.
Yeah, most important muscle in the for walking, running, cycling.
Yeah.
Alexander Treen has asked something, and me and you were talking about it the other day, so we may as well bring it up, which is would we say a minimalist barefoot style shoe or boot or a possibility on any of our longer treks? She's done. I've done barefoot style boots as well as literal barefoot treks, but I've never above 9,000 feet and not in any snowy areas. And you wonder if that would be detrimental or possible. So with regards to those, I think it is possible. Certainly, there are some boots out there by, I can't remember. And it's not Vibram. I think Vibram might do some, but there's actually a hiking boot by one that Ed Stafford uses a lot.
Okay. Some research to find out what it is. If anyone knows what it is,
I'm pretty sure if Lauren can look up. Can you look at Ed Stafford boots for me and find out what he wears? Anyway, so they're a pretty good boot in terms of like they'll weather and cold and everything is good. The only thing I recommend is if anyone is going to go sort of down the barefoot route, it's supposed to be really good for strengthening your feet and avoiding things like, I can't say it and I keep going to go Plantar fasciitis, but I think that's probably
that's a swear word, David.
Yeah, sorry. Viva Barefoot, that's it.
Viva Barefoot, that's the one.
Yeah, someone beat you to it.
I was like a fraction of a second away.
But I think it's important not to go from, not to run before you can walk. So I think actually, everything I know about it is about strengthening your feet first, going on hikes, gradually decreasing the amount of cushioning and support you have. If you just go from wearing, say, the Hokas to barefoot, I think after about 2-3 days, your feet are going to be in pieces. So I'd recommend a gradual build up to it.
Yeah, I think as well. I just Jerome has come up. I'm sure Dave, because I know you like to do this, and I'll bring it up on screen. And I think you can appreciate Jerome's use of talcum powder.
Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's one of my hacks. I think that I did for I think. I mentioned it. No, it was at EBC. I think I mentioned it on a podcast. Yeah, man, it's like one of the things I have every day. It cleans my hair. It keeps parts of me that are wet dry. So I put it in my shoes. I put it under my arms. I put it on my head. I look like a frosted ice gem sometimes because I'll have a tendency to put too much on. But yeah, no, like talcum powder is brilliant.
Yeah, nice. I know it's as well. Obviously, you were reading Alexander Treen. You do know that was Ali from yesterday, right?
Yes. Yeah. Of course I did. Hi.
Well done.
Yeah.
Ali, I hope you're doing well, mate. Ali came to visit us yesterday, and it was wonderful to meet her. But yes, we will definitely be speaking to you soon. Any other questions?
John Adams, the great bald Yeti, has commented. So he says he thinks trainers and a pair of flip-flops is a great idea. I'm assuming he doesn't mean, something nice and comfy to change into at the end of the tea house. When you get to the tea house at the end of the day. I think that is important. You'll see all the guides and porters. The first thing they do is they get flip-flops on and they dry their feet out in the lodges.
Yeah.
That's an important aspect of the trip because it means your feet are in good condition then the next day.
Well, yeah, Sital asked that question as well, and I think, yeah, definitely. It's nice to air your feet a bit, especially after you've been all day in boots. You want to let them air, especially so they don't get moist so much, because a moist feet are prone to blister.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting some flip-flops. Dave, I know you take your flip-flops. I kind of take some trekking shoes I can just change into that are pretty much my just relaxing in shoes, if you like. But there's always got decent grips. I mean, you could, if you Google, say, approach shoes or trekking shoes, technically you could probably wear them hiking. I prefer not to because you don't get too much ankle support. But they're great if you're walking around a village in the night, say in the Everest region, or even wearing around camp on Kili. Or whether you're on Machu Picchu and in that region going through the villages, it's just something just to put on afterwards and let you air your feet a little bit, really.
Yeah.
Any tips for strength, heel skin? Sorry, I'm just going through all these questions here. I know there's a few, Dave. Have you got any? Have you picked up any yourself?
Yeah. So I saw Jordan Green. Any tips for strengthening the heel skin? He can't do a Monroe without getting a blister, and it's weakened your feet. I think Jordan's problem there is not necessarily that your heel skin is probably too thin and weak. I think it's that it's probably been damaged and then maybe repaired, and then you've gone back to the same pair of boots and stuff that damaged it in the first place. So even though it might not feel like it all the time, I think usually the best fix for that is to start from the ground up, meaning the boots, the insoles, the socks. And unfortunately, there's no magic wand to figure out which combination of those is right for you. So I've spent time and effort and money in trying to figure that out, and I've burned through a huge amount of pair of boots. My biggest thing that I can do is, so with places like Go Outdoors, you can usually order a pair of boots without buying them, and then you can pay when you pick up. But what I'll do is order a pair that I think I want to try, order them maybe in 2 sizes, and then I'll try and hang it out in the shop for as long as possible with those boots on my feet, walking around, getting a feel for any places that are a bit tight or anything like that. Generally, you want a pair that fit but are not too tight, because you don't want to be hitting your toes. And like I said, insoles might make a huge difference for you, because if you've got the merino socks and you've got a good pair of boots, then try the insoles, because a blister is caused by movement against your heel, basically. So your foot, when you're moving, is rubbing over and over and over against the back of your boot. If you put an insole in, that might stop happening. So try that.
Great stuff. I think Suzanne asked about socks. Keeping your feet nice and cozy. So socks, in terms of, I think it was Jerome might have mentioned some sort of anti-slip socks, and there are some like that do provide some grip. I'm not myself, so I wouldn't be able to judge, but I know something that some people do is that they actually wear 2 pairs of socks. So rather than your feet sliding against the bottom of the boot, is that the actual 2 socks are sliding against each other. So it means you don't get as much rubbing on your feet. I've done that on some really long walks, works a treat. And then if it gets a little bit too cozy, you can just take one of those socks off and chuck them in your bag. That's kind of worked the best. In terms of actually socks for EBC or Kili or Machu Picchu or Island Peak, Mera Peak, they are like if you go to places like Go Outdoors, Cotswold Outdoors, Ellis Brigham, all those online retailers as well as shops. Actually, they've got ratings, and you can actually go in and it'll say one's for trekking, one's for mountaineering. It's pretty much Ron Seal. It does exactly what it says on the tin. So definitely sort of stick to that. And another pair of socks that I kind of wear, Dave, I know you're into them as well, as merino wool socks. Less sweating, comfy, always seem to be the best, but they're not cheap.
I mean, anything that I wear next to my skin now, I try and get merino wool. So sort of pants, socks, base layers, that type of thing. It's a shame because it is expensive, and I was kind of hoping it wouldn't work for me, but it really does. That it stops the chafing, it stops. They're antimicrobial, so they stay fresher for longer. In the mountains, we do wear our stuff for 3, 4, 5 days in a row if we have to. And if you've got like a normal like synthetic base layer, that will be rank at the end of those 5 days. I think if you've got a merino one, I mean, it's not going to be fresh, but it's going to be a lot less toxic than a synthetic one. Clifford Hurst has asked an interesting question. Blisters, pop them or leave them? So this is tricky. So my method is such: whichever you decide, what you don't want to have to happen is to peel the blister skin off the heel, because then you're going to be left with this raw piece of meat that's going to
hurt.
It's going to hurt. So what I tend to do is I get like a thin needle or anything that I can get my hands off, and pop one hole and then out another. So you got two little holes, drain it out, and then push the skin back down onto the heel. Okay. And then you want to let it harden. So the risk you run with that is that once you pop it, it can be quite loose to come off. So that's when I'll put zinc oxide tape around the heel as well, so it stays in there. And then it'll harden, and then it'll harden great, and then it won't hurt again. But I have early on made the mistake as where I saw a blister, and I popped it, and I messed it up, and I basically ripped a hole in it, and the whole thing came off.
Oof.
That was horrific. That was like,
that's going to hurt for days. I think Leah's made a good point as well. And I think she said her doctor said don't pop them. And it's about infection, especially if you're in, a region like it's quite dusty. Sometimes the Everest region become quite dusty, as well as on Killy as well. So yeah, do be careful of that if you do fancy taking the blister off. If you do get blisters, but if you listen to us, or if you do the right stuff, you shouldn't get blisters really, unless you're just inclined to get them.
I would say take your doctor's advice over mine. But that's what I do.
Yeah, no, it's great, isn't it? And I think Mark makes a good point. I know we've sort of gone on about this quite a lot. Is that if you have got feet that are a little bit dodgy, like we did there, Mark, go to an outdoor specialist fitter, and they will. You can even get molded boots these days. If any of you are into skiing, you might be familiar with that. They are bringing, with regards to like molded boots. They're doing similar stuff with hiking boots now. It's kind of new tech, but they're, so you can actually get a mold, and then the boot could be custom. Obviously, there's a bit, these aren't cheap. But if you have got feet that are a little bit dodgy sometimes, susceptible to blisters, if you have got things like plantar fasciitis, issues like that, could be worth looking into. Something like that.
I'd be interested if anyone's used those to drop me a message. I can't remember the name of them now, but I know that Tiso, 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 that shop, they do them. My only concern with it is that obviously when you go in and you have your feet sort of molded to these boots, it's okay for skiing because generally speaking, I think your feet will stay the same throughout a skiing trip. But when you're hiking at altitude, your feet can swell and things like that, so they won't necessarily stay the same shape as the boot. So that would be my only concern about it. But if it works, I'd be the first person to sign up and try it.
Yeah. Well, I think James had it done before. I think because there's always sort of posts and questions come in. But I remember, James, if that is you, I think you've just said there you've had it done. It's a game changer. There we go. If we are talking about the same thing now. I know there are companies out there that do that. So great shout, guys, great stuff.
Leah's asked an interesting one.
Okay,
you cannot get foot rot as it's not tropical, or am I just a complete noob? No, you're not a noob, and I've never gotten like trench foot. I'm thinking you're assuming of. No, it doesn't really happen because we're not. That tends to happen when you're in like either a tropical environment or you're in an environment where your feet get wet and then they stay wet for like multiple days at a time, and then it'll like get deeper and set in. At the end of every day, this is why I bring my flip-flops or like sliders, because at the end of the day, take your boots off, clean and dry your feet, let them get some air, and then go back to trekking again the next day. Totally fine, not an issue.
Nice. Yeah, it was James. Thanks for sharing that. I'm gonna try that out myself actually, especially for the peaks. Jerome said something interesting as well. I know it wasn't necessarily to do with feet, but I know we've chatted recently about drinking water and things. But you bring up a good point, which is that if you are drinking a lot of water, just to make sure that you maybe might need some excess salt. And I know just to protect the kidneys, I think it was our little bald Yeti who came up with a really good point about putting maybe a Barocca or something similar to that in your water. Plus, you do get a lot of salt. I know in some if you're talking Everest Base Camp, they do use some quite a lot of salt in their dishes.
Yeah. Although, and I will take issue with the little bald Yeti.
The great bald Yeti.
Great bald Yeti is the correct answer. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why I called him little bald Yeti. Maybe I was thinking of his son, because he looked like
his son. Actually, I have already given a nickname. So Finley is the noisy goblin. He was a noisy goblin when he was a baby, and I thought he'll grow out of that. If anything, the noise and the gobbliness has got worse. But no, he's a great kid. He's one of the funniest kids I know, actually.
Right, I'm just going through, Dave. If you've got any, I know Lauren has put some more questions. Lewis has just asked actually about what we do in the peaks. I presume he means Mara Peak Island Peak, right, Lewis? Just check. Do comment.
I was actually waiting for an answer. Then I was like, yes.
No, it's in text. It's in text.
Yeah. I think we are. Yeah. Well, I know we are. So the plan initially was to do, I think, Island or Mera this year, but obviously because of the difficulties that COVID has caused, probably not going to get an opportunity to do that. So next year, probably going to look to do a combination and do Mera and Island in one expedition. Yes. No, the peaks are like a big. Something big on the horizon for us, figuratively and physically, because we're going to be doing Aconcagua eventually.
Yeah.
And then who knows? Maybe 8,000 meters is on the cards. Let's see what the future brings.
Absolutely, mate. It is, isn't it? No, I think this year's been. I mean, we were quite lucky to get Killy done in February before everything kicked off. But yeah, this year's proven to be challenging with regards to anything, anything mountainous really. But as soon as we can, we'll be back in the mountains 100%. We can't wait, just like you guys. We know we want to get back out there and pack on our back and enjoy it. But hopefully it's not a million miles away. Leah asked about the water bottles. Dave, I know you've had a few water bottles requests over the last week or so.
Yeah. So officially, we haven't sold them yet because we haven't. We're still working on the online store. However, I don't even want to say this because if you guys start it's Lauren shaking her head. If you drop me an email, I can get back in touch with you and we'll work it out. What's that?
Yeah,
I'm being shouted at again. But yeah,
you are right though. Yeah, because the store is still being worked on, which means you can buy these automatically.
Yeah.
We're not quite there yet, Leah, but we can do sort of every now and again we can, if you want, just drop us an email, we can send you, and it's not a problem. We'll just drop us an email and we can email back and say okay, and get one out to you.
Lauren's volunteering to go to the post office. She said that she'll do the post office runs for us.
Oh, Social Yeti, she's on it. I'm sure the Bimblin Yeti could do it as well, if she's around. Do they have boot drying facilities on Everest Base Camp trip? Not really. It's all quite basic, in terms of the tea houses and lodges. So that they don't really have those. I'm kind of thinking the ones that you kind of see maybe in ski resorts, things like that. So they don't have those, Hayley. But I know that most people leave it outside their room just to give it a bit of air. Obviously, shake for any creepy crawlies afterwards before putting them back on. But that's the drying facilities in the Himalayas when you're out there.
Yeah. You can get hand warmers that might make a difference. I know some people have cracked open, because hand warmers, I actually don't like them on my hands. They're either not hot or way too burny. But particularly when you're on a really so when you're getting up for Kalapatar or going to the summit of Kili and you want to put some warm boots on before you go to sleep, crack them open, put them in your boots and stuff like that can make a big difference. I did see one thing. What was it? Was it someone? Robert Jones has asked about sock liners to looking after the feet. I've never used them because I find the merino wool, either the light or the medium, make a huge difference for me, and that works. If I use a liner, I think there's not enough breathability with it. So and that sort of the balance, although the liner can be good, it doesn't pay off for me as much because I run quite hot, so I need the breathability. Yeah. But certainly, I know some people have definitely used them. And really like them and think they make a big difference, particularly on the comfort and things like that. So you don't get fatigue and the soles of your feet all day. So yeah, they can make a big difference.
Yeah. Was it? I think James mentioned some dry shore for boots. works. Is that have you used that before, Dave? Is that what you talking about?
No.
Dry Shore. I think that helps with keeping your boots relatively dry.
Yeah.
I've never used it myself, but yeah.
Newspaper is good. I learned that in the Scouts.
Newspaper. Okay, I'll try that. I think Paul Dewhurst. Paul, great to see you on. Do you need insect repellent for EBC? Not really in the mountains. You don't really get any bugs sort of high up. You might get them in Kathmandu, or if you go down, further south to say Chitwan. If you're going down to Chitwan National Park, definitely loads further down south. But it's too cold in the mountains, too high up. Clearly, the mozzies don't like high altitude, which is great because there's plenty of those around. Whereas if you're in Tanzania, for instance, or if you're in Peru, you do get some. Especially on Kili in Tanzania, you do need anti-malarials, and definitely take some insect repellent for Kili if you go on there, Paul.
Yeah, what was amazing on Kili was the mosquitoes and little bugs were quite higher up than I expected to see them.
Yeah.
So I thought that as soon as I got up to say Camp 2, which is Shira 1, I wouldn't see them, but actually you do. They are knocking around up there, particularly it's quite warm and things like that. So that's why some people, I heard this and I thought it's an important message, that some people take their malaria tablets and then stop taking them when they're on the mountain and then start again before they come back down. I wouldn't do that. I would keep taking them from 2-3 days before you go to a week after you get back, for the whole time in the middle. Also, there's no TV on the mountains, and actually it gives you some pretty vivid dreams. So if you take them before you go to sleep, then you might, it's like having a soap opera every night.
Yeah, it's very good actually. It is very interesting, not good, I would say. But yeah, I know we talked about it before, and someone mentioned that it was because it's like the psycho part of the I'm trying to think now, trying to explain it in a scientific way, even I don't understand it myself. But all it does gives you crazy dreams.
Yeah,
it is quite cool because you wake up and it's like Lord of the Rings whilst you're sleeping. So it's great, really. And you're right, David. It's cheaper than having a TV. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I to be honest, I take mine in the morning though, just to avoid that. you want to feel good and rested, and I think being up all night, following Frodo with the ring, and is going to exhaust you. But yeah.
Definitely. It is quite interesting. I know Leah, who's from Australia. I bet she has a fair few over in Oz, for sure, as well as koalas. But I know it was. Yeah, I was just looking at sorry, Leah, I got sidetracked then. Any other questions, Dave? I'm just trying to go through. I think if there's any questions coming through, let's go for it. If not, I know we've covered a lot already.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. I think there's a couple of ones that that I'm going back that I haven't actually managed to get.
I think Monique actually brought in do you need malaria tablets for Peru? There are certain parts, in the Amazon that I believe you need some, but not if you go in on the to Machu Picchu. I'll confirm that, but yeah, we don't understand you need malaria tablets for that part. But if you do go, because some people like to sort of go down and do some extra trips. If you're in South America and people want to do an extra couple of weeks, they go off on their own thing. If you head in a bit further, sort of lower altitude, maybe down the Amazon, then you definitely would.
Yeah.
But not on the Machu Picchu trip. So I hope that answers your question. But right, Dave, that's been great. I mean, I know we've covered the basics. We'll obviously bring it back to the feet. When it comes to insoles, getting the right fit. If you do strengthen your glutes, your calves, and your hamstrings, it will also support your feet. There's different lacing techniques you can do. You can also tape your feet up certain ways. So there's lots of things to think about. I always think most of the time it's just through working it out yourself and getting the right fit boots, going out there and seeing what happens. Certainly don't want to leave it until the last minute before a trip, and next thing you know, you've got blisters on the first couple of days. So it is about getting out there, pack on your back, putting the miles in, doing some work in the gym, and just enjoying it, really. Yeah,
exactly. This might be the first time where we've more or less stuck to the subject for the entire video. So I think we're going to have to change that, and that can't happen again.
It's very, very strange, but no, it's been great. Dave, any comments from you? Final word?
I think final word, yeah. I think one of the things that we did want to say is obviously, you know, we really enjoy doing these things, and we want you guys to try and you know, get as much out of it as you can.
Yes.
So with that, if you guys have any recommendations or anything that you want us to talk about, any questions that you want to be the focus of a live, then, you know, drop us a message, leave a comment, send us an email, use all the communication methods you can, and say, you know, hey Andy, Dave, I'd like you to talk about this subject.
Yes.
And we'll bring it up on one of these, and we'll do a bit of an in-depth analysis on it and things like that, and you know, maybe offer you some advice if we can. Worst case scenario, maybe slightly entertain you for an hour or so, you know. So yeah, do drop us some recommendations and things for things you want to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always if we haven't answered any questions, we always drop in. I'm actually away next week, so Dave, you're heading up the Tuesday tune in yourself next week.
Yeah, flying solo.
Yeah, I'm off on holiday for a week, but I'll be back in a couple of weeks. You're in the more than amazing hands of Dave. You look after you, but he is right. You know, anything that you want us to talk about, because we're here for you guys. Any questions, anything at all, any subjects you think, you know, it'd be really cool, the guys to talk about that, then just fire them to us, and you know, we'll take on the questions. But other than that, I'll see you in a couple of weeks, and Dave will be with me next week. But yeah, thanks for joining us.
Sorry, one thing a minute here. I think Lauren and Leah are having an argument here. What animal are you talking about?
Koalas.
Oh, koalas. Oh, those.
If we do post our bottle all the way to Australia, we were going to need a promo picture of a koala drinking from
That'd be a very good idea.
Koalas are amazing.
Apparently, they're horrible.
They sound odd. I've seen koalas before.
Aggressive. They can be quite aggressive.
Well, they're cute in trees. If you ever see one walking, they're a bit ungainly. And the noise the males make, at least, is pretty ungainly. But then the way I look and walk is a bit weird. So you know, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Right. But right, guys, we're going to end this now. But yeah, thanks for joining us, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
No worries, guys. All the best. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.